Welcome. We're into the fourth video on the subject of UFT recording and testing of a web application. And in this particular video, we're going to focus primarily on what it takes to utilize the OIC and ObjectSpy tools for that effort of creating some additional features and functionality within an existing web, UFT Web script. So let's go to the UFT IDE. I'm going to minimize this and maximize. So here we are once more in the UFT IDE, and we're looking at the script I called Web Test 10. We have these two actions, filter check and cart test. The primary action is cart test, which calls filter check, and we talked about that before in the previous video, so I'm not going to go over that again. But what our focus is on is utilizing two of the tools. There are two menus that I want to talk about a little bit here. Is the tools menu and the AI menu. The tools menu, you'll see two tools that we want to focus on in this video. And one is the Object Identification Center, and it's known for short OIC, and then the ObjectSpy. I mentioned these before. They're about what's called object identification in the UFT product. And you're probably familiar with, if you've done any recording of scripts for web applications, when you're in the browser, there's a function called inspect or inspection. And it's a way of taking a look at how a particular object on a page in the browser is defined. And usually that's in the HTML code, where you can see how it's defined and get some understanding about how you can engage it or identify it in terms of XPath or CSS locator designations. I hope that was a mouthful. I hope that didn't go over everybody's head. I'm trusting that you may have some knowledge about DOM, the object models, that kind of concept. In UFT, however, we want to refer to it as object identification. We're using the Object Identification Center, which is the AI tool within UFT, and its predecessor, ObjectSpy, which is still being utilized today in the UFT tool. There are other tools that use something they call ObjectSpy as well. So let's get into talking about that. We're going to start with the ObjectSpy. Now, let me bring up the ObjectSpy so you can take a look at it and start to get familiar with it if you're not already familiar with it. Normally what you do, once you bring it up above the IDE, then you can click this little button right here where you see the hat and the eyes. You can click on that, and that will start your ObjectSpy process. It's kind of like actually launching it to work with your application. But the expectation is that your application is being displayed currently behind the scene. So what it's going to do is ObjectSpy is going to cause your IDE to minimize. And once that occurs, this ObjectSpy window should be on top of your application so that you can interact with it. If you don't have it like that, make sure you do that first. Make sure your application is behind the scenes, so to speak, behind this IDE window. All right, next thing you need to know about is that once you click on that and it does transfer and display the application screen, then be careful how you move your mouse around, because everywhere you move, it's going to try to identify what object it's pointing to. And you want to get it to flow right on over to whatever object, either on the right or the left of this window, because if you try to move it, that's not going to work. So you need to have this Object Spy window available somewhere on your screen, but not on top of whatever object you want to work with. Now this takes a little practice to work with this and get used to that. Believe me, if you don't do what I'm telling you about, you will have some challenges, and it will take getting used to it. It works a certain way, and you have to work with that. Now, once you've identified an object, you click on it once, it will display information about that particular object, and usually it's the right information that describes that object. These little icons are then something you can work with. One is to add the object to the repository, and if you remember, that's that object repository I mentioned to you, you can get to by double clicking here. At least that's one of the ways to get there. The other thing is, once it displays the information about describing that particular object, you can left click on the bottom entry and click and drag that into the code area, and it will create at least one line of information. Now, on the Object Spy, they added the AI process. You can have this button on. I turned it off. By default, it usually is on. It seems to create more confusion than anything. It will try automatically to do inspection on your application window as well. And I think one at a time is better. So I use the Object Spy strictly for the traditional object definitions that it creates. When we get to the OIC, we'll talk about that one, and that one you'll see works just a little differently, but it's similar in its process. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is, I know that what we're going to want to do is to define some of these browser objects that are going to be somewhere around this area of the screen. So I've moved the Object Spy over this way so it's not in the way when it goes there. All right, let's have it go there now. I'm treating this like I did this on purpose. In a sense, I did. Notice the application window is not there. So what happens if you come to this page like this? Maybe you did it also by mistake. Don't panic. All you do is click again on this little icon, and that takes you back to your IDE. All right. So what I need to do before I do this again, I need to go and get the application window into place. So I'm going to go down to my browser, and I'm wanting to take you through that. Oops, sorry. There's my browser. Bring it up. And since I've accessed that particular website, I can just type in ADV, and I think that will show that URL. Click on it, and now I'm there, and I'm going to take this over to the next window, And that's where I want to work with this area here. So I scrolled up a little bit. I want to be able to click on each one of these items and generate some code. All right, so let's go back now to the IDE. Go to full screen mode, and now I move this out of the way. I'm ready to go to the application. And then I said to be careful with where if you notice, see what it's doing. And I'm wanting to start from the top here and click on this price, and there, it's created the definition for it. And as I said, I can move this directly to the object repository, or I can click on this last line here, and then I can click again and hold and drag it down to the next available line. And then I'll let go. For some reason, there was a delay. I'm not sure exactly what happened. I hope it's not my recording that's interfering, but let's go ahead and try the next one. So again, we click this icon button one time, and now we're ready to slide over from price. Now we want to do compatibility. Click once, and there we are. It's showing link compatibility. Let's go ahead and click on that. And by the way, I'm going to click and drag. Let's see if it does what it needs to do this time. See if that delay, yeah, it's delaying again. Okay, I'm going to have to pause my recording in between each one of these. It seems to be affecting that. So let's go to the next one. We want now to click on manufacturer, and then we're back. We click on that, move that over here, and let me pause. We'll go to the next one. That didn't do correctly. Let's go back, click, there we go. And we're going to the weight. Click on it. Got it. We've got a delay again. Pause. Okay, we're ready to go to the next one. Again, the object SPI didn't come. The behavior is a little weird here, so bear with me. Some of this technology doesn't work well together. They don't all play together. Sorry about that. All right, click on this one. Bring that down to line 29. I'll pause. Okay, we're ready to go to the next one, which should be the last one. Once again, it doesn't go with me. Go back, click again. All right, now we're ready to click that last one, the color. Click. Takes us back to the IDE. We have the color. Highlight it. Bring that over. Click the pause. Okay, so that should be all of the objects we need for right now to set up the testing for those objects, opening and closing. And let's see what we can do to get that to work. I'm going to close this object SPI now. And as I said, that's up here at the tools, object SPI, or I believe there's another one here on the icon bar. That's the AI. SPI was there, but I see the OI. Let's see, wait a minute. Yes, here it is. You have the Object Identification Center and the Object SPI. So they're both together here in this little icon. Sorry, it took me a little bit to find that one, but you can go up to the tools and find those same two options right here. And in the AI, which I'm going to use that next, is the object inspection, object record. This is the one I'm going to show you. I think that's an interesting way to utilize the AI tools. The others you may want to learn about at another time, or if I have an opportunity to create another video or two, I'll do that for that. Through the magic of recording pause, I gave you some time off, and I took some time to put some code together to save us some time so you could see this and we can get through the rest of this video in a short order. So here we are. I have code now, starting with line 27 through 30. It's the first group, and it has to do with one of the statements or lines of code that we generated from the object SPI. Here it is on line 27, and that clicks on the price element on the page. If you remember, it has to do with filtering, and so that causes an expansion of that piece of area on the page, and then we wait a second, and then we do it again. We click, and that will cause a collapse to occur. You'll see that in the actual execution of this test. And we then create a report entry on the output to say that that function passed. So if we get to line 30 with no error, then we can tell it, hey, tell it that the price filter passed. And then we have the next group of code, and that's for the compatibility option or filter. And then let me scroll down, the manufacturer. Now what's going to happen interesting on the manufacturer, it's already open by the time we get here. So this click is going to close it and then reopen it with this click. Then we have the weight element. We have the wireless technology. I should be saying filter. And then finally the color filter. Then after that, I'm going to also send another report that says, or another entry to the report that says filter checks. All filters operating. Pass. Excuse me. Then I have an interesting statement on line 59 here, and that is to exit the test. So at this point, it will quit execution. We will not see some of the testing that we saw before. As a matter of fact, let me show you that really quickly, what happened on the last run. I can go to run and recent reports, and I got rid of 9, 8, 7, 6, so 5 should be the last one there. Let's see what that looks like. And that one ran successfully. Let's expand that. And so if you look with me right here where it says filter check summary, I'm going to click this little box to cause a collapse. Notice what it collapsed. All the way to the AI util. This is one of the AI commands we have in this script. And I'll expand this again. So the filter check summary, it passed, but that's all the coding that's up to this point where it sets the Logitech checkbox. Those are that's basically the only code that was in the filter check action. And so what we're going to see now is much more processing for that filter check. All the rest of this output we won't see in the next execution because of the exit command. All right, hopefully you're following me on this. All right, we're going to close this and get ready here. I'm going to tell you something. I've got a subroutine, but I'm not going to tell you about that until after we do this execution. So here we go. Let's make sure we save. We've got no errors here. And let's execute so you can see what happens. I'm not even going to give an input value because I don't want it to run any further. Plus I have the exit test statement or command that will stop the testing at this point once it gets into the filter check action. Okay, so I'll tell you about this when we come back on the next run. Alrighty, let's go ahead and find the run button here. I'm sorry I didn't see it. I'll leave the mouse alone. It should begin momentarily. Sometimes you'll find that the script will start slowly, and that's some kind of interactions between the IDE and the application and so on. So it's going now. All right, we're over there where the filters are. You should start seeing them momentarily. There's also a delay at this point, and it will start with the price and expand it and so on. There's the price, compatibility, manufacturer closed and reopened, weight opened, closed, wireless technology open and closed, color opened and closed. And there we are. We're at the end of the test. Give it a few seconds more to close out the application window, the browser. There that goes. And it will probably just redisplay the IDE. And then it should have done all it's going to do. Sometimes the result will stay on top. Sometimes it will go to the back. And one way to see it is just to click this little button here and allow the IDE to still be open, but collapse somewhat. And we can see this side of the output. And we can see it's all green there, so it passed. I can scroll down and you can see the difference here. We have now 7 passed steps. And let's see what that's about. Let's go ahead and click the other side here and expand. And you'll see quite a bit of information here. And none of this has to do with what you saw on the previous output. This is all about the filtering. So it starts basically here. So if I collapse this now, wow, not much left. There's nothing after that. So we stopped in the filter. We just did the filter process. And the 3 commands or statements before that was in the main script, the cart test. Okay, so expand that again so we can just step through it real quick. We have the price clicks, the compatibility, manufacturer, weight, wireless technology, and color. And we can see we don't really need all of this, but I wanted to put that in individually. You can do it either way. We could have had just, hey, all filters worked out fine. You could either do this one, or you could do one for each, like I did. And so when you click on this first filter check, it tells you price filter. Click on the next one, it tells you compatibility filter. It passed. The manufacturer filter passed. And all that's about is saying that you were able to click on it and it opened. You clicked on it again and it closed. It did what it was supposed to do, at least with the clicks. All right, we're done with looking at the output at this point. Let's go back to the script itself. I want to talk to you about what went on beyond this original code that's in the filter check action. If I scroll down again, we see the comments I had for the design, the adding of this feature. We used the object SPI to get the initial code that we needed, and then we duplicated some of that. And we've got so much duplication in here until I notice, and that's something you want to get used to, is to notice where can you save some code. So I created this call statement. I'm going to uncomment that right here. Call check filter, and I'm passing it the browser name, the page name, and the link name. And so you see here in this first one, Advantage Shopping 2, Advantage Shopping, and Price. So now I don't need these 4 lines of code. I can get rid of it just like that. I can then take this line of code and I can duplicate it. Let's say I need 5 more. So I could 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, before I go any further in getting rid of the other lines of code, let me show you the subroutine. And all the subroutine does, subfilter, receive the window, the page value, and the link. And inside it are the statements: browser, wait, browser, report event. And I'm passing the link, the value, that whatever is in that link name, I'm passing that there and concatenating it to the word filter. So it changes that statement accordingly. And I'm now going to go back up here, and I can then go up and get rid of all of this excess code, and you'll see now we have a much cleaner looking script as a result of that. Okay, so we need to pass on the right values. Now what I did do was I deleted those too quickly. I needed to copy paste those values in there. So what can I do? Once again, through the magic of record pause, I went ahead and went back, and all I did was undid what I did so that I could see that. You go to the edit undo, and I was able to capture those, copy paste them into place. So now we have the calls, the 7 calls to check filter, and we pass it the various object names so that it can process it. And then we're again going to exit the test at this point. So let's save all, and execute again to see how it functions. Again, I'm not passing any input parameters. Bear with it. It should start momentarily. Here we are at the filters. There's the first one. The test is completed. Momentarily, the browser will be closed. The IDE will return to the front. Let's go ahead and look at the output. So here we are. Again, we have the 7. They all passed. Let's expand all. And we're looking at, once again, if I collapse this, you can see we have the 7 passed. Filter check results. All of this is everything that is being processed inside the filter check action. And so we see the filter check for the first one says price filter. And remember, this is the little subroutine. So we should see the change: compatibility filter, manufacturer filter, weight filter, I hope you are looking over here. Wireless technology filter. And the final one here, color filter. And then the general filter check, all filters operating. So that was a good test. Now, that's nice. We've got that new code in place. We used the object SPI to do that. And there's one other thing. Let's go ahead and remove this exit statement, or let's go ahead and comment it out. I like to do that sometimes. All right, so exit test is commented. So when it comes through here, now it's going to return back to this location, line 10. It's going to come back in here and continue processing. And my expectation is, now that we have the code in place for the filter check, all that we wanted to redesign it to do, now the rest of this test should work fine. But the only one we've got the capability to test beyond this is the Logitech test. The other two down here, the HP test, the Bose test, we don't have the necessary code. If you go down to the subroutines, you will still see that we're planning to add new code for the HP test and for the Bose test, but we have not done that yet. We're going to have to do this based on the time I see in the next video. So let's go ahead and test what we have and see how that runs. Do a save all, make sure everything is ready. And we're going to execute. This time, I'm going to go to the input parameters, and I've double-clicked on that, and I'm going to put in the value on. If I did that for all of them, it would try to run each one. I'm only wanting it to do the first one, which is the manufacturer. So that should be it. Let's run and see what happened. It's taking a moment to get started. It's begun. You see the checkbox going through the filter checks. The test completed successfully. And we're back at the IDE. I'll give it another second to make sure it doesn't pop up again. The results. All right, let's take a quick look at the results. We can see that we've got everything passed. We have something like 17 tests that it checked. Let's go ahead and expand all. Now we have multiple pages, if you will, of output. And the final thing was the flow check, return to initial page passed. So we did the continue. We did the remove. The shopping cart should be cleared. And you can see if we're going back up to the top, we did those other tests, existence test, the speaker click test, and the image test, and so on. And then we see all the filter checks up here. If we come back up here to the filter check summary, we can minimize that part. And now what we see is the rest of the testing that was done, navigating through several pages, and then finally returning to the initial home page by clicking on the continue shopping. So we had a successful run, successful test. The coding is now improved, and we're going to do one more improvement on this script. That's going to be utilizing the Object Identification Center, which is the AI process. So look for that in the next video. So check out my follow-up demo videos that demonstrate using UFT for recording and testing web applications. The videos should be entitled something like UFT Web Recording and Testing.